The Happy Face Killer. Keith Hunter Jesperson. He is a Canadian-American serial killer who murdered at least 8 women in the United States during the early 1990s. He was known as the Happy Face Killer because he drew smiley faces on his many letters to the media and authorities. Many of Jesperson's victims were sex workers and transients who had no connection to him. Strangulation was his preferred method of murdering, the same method he often used to kill animals as a child. After the body of Jesperson's first victim, Towner Bennett, was found, media attention surrounded Laverne Pavlinak, a woman who falsely confessed to Bennett's murder with the help of her abusive boyfriend, John Sosnowska. Upset that he was not getting any media attention, Jesperson drew a smiley face on a bathroom wall hundreds of miles from the scene of the Bennett killing and wrote an anonymous letter confessing to the murder, providing proof. When that did not elicit a response, he began writing letters to the media and authorities. Jesperson's last murder was the crime that ultimately led to his capture. While he has claimed to have killed as many as 160 people, only 8 murders have been confirmed. Jesperson is currently serving a sentence of life without parole at the Oregon State Penitentiary. Keith Jesperson was born on April 6, 1955, to Leslie Samuel and Gladys Lorraine Jesperson in Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada, the middle child with 2 brothers and 2 sisters. His father was a domineering alcoholic. According to Jesperson, his paternal grandfather was prone to violence. Jesperson's father denied being an abusive parent. However, other family members corroborated the abuse claims to author Jack Olson. Treated like a black sheep by his own family, and teased by other children for his large size, Jesperson was a lonely child who showed a propensity for torturing and killing animals. After moving to Selah, Washington, United States, he had trouble fitting in and making friends, again because of his large size. Jesperson's brothers did not help him. Instead, they nicknamed him Igioa, a name that stuck throughout his school years. Because of this, Jesperson was a shy child, content to play by himself much of the time. He would often get into trouble for misbehaving, sometimes violently, and would be severely punished by his father. This included beatings, sometimes with a belt in front of others, and in one case, he received an electric shock. At a very early age, as young as 5, Jesperson would capture and torture animals. He enjoyed watching animals kill each other as well as the feeling he got from taking their lives. This continued as he grew older. Jesperson would capture birds and strays around the trailer park where he lived with his family, severely beating the animals and then strangling them to death, something for which he claims his father was proud of him. In the years following, Jesperson said he often thought about what it would be like to do the same to a human. That desire manifested in 2 attempted murders. The first occurred when Jesperson was around age 10, when he was friends with a boy named Martin. The 2 would often get into trouble together, and Jesperson claimed he was often punished many times for things Martin had done, and shifted the blame. This led Jesperson to violently attack Martin until his father pulled him away. He later claimed his intention was to kill the boy. Approximately 1 year later, Jesperson was swimming in a lake when another boy held him underwater until he blacked out. Sometime later, at a public pool, Jesperson attempted to drown the boy by holding his head under the water until a lifeguard pulled him away. Jesperson reported that he was raped at age 14. He graduated from high school in 1973, but did not attend college because his father did not believe he could do it. Although Jesperson was not successful with girls in high school, having never even attended a school dance or his prom, he did enter into a relationship after high school. In 1975, when Jesperson was aged 20, he married Rose Huck, and the couple had 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. Jesperson worked as a truck driver to support the family. Several years later, Huck began to suspect Jesperson was having affairs when strange women would call. Tension in the marriage increased, and after 14 years, while Jesperson was on the road, Huck packed up her children and belongings and drove 200 miles to live with her parents in Spokane, Washington. Jesperson continued to spend time with his children when he was in town. The couple divorced in 1990. At age 35, standing 6 feet 7 inches and weighing approximately 255 pounds, Jesperson began working toward the goal of joining the Royal Canadian Mounted Police (RCMP), but an injury suffered while training ended this endeavor. He then sought work again as a truck driver after relocating to Cheney, Washington. Jesperson soon realized that this job afforded him the opportunity to kill without being suspected. Jesperson's first known victim was Towndra Bennett on January 21, 1990, near Portland, Oregon, United States. He introduced himself to Bennett at a bar and invited her to a house he was renting. After getting in an argument with Bennett, he strangled her to death with his hands and disposed of her body. On August 30, 1992, the currently unidentified body of a woman Jesperson had raped and strangled was found near Blythe, California, United States. Jesperson gives the chain those name as Claudia. A month later, in Turlock, California, the body of Cynthia Elwyn Rose was discovered. Jesperson claims Rose was a sex worker who entered his truck at a truck stop while he slept. His fourth victim was another sex worker, Laurie Ann Pentland of Salem, Oregon, whose body was found in November 1992. According to Jesperson, Pentland attempted to double the fee she charged for the sex he had been engaged in with her. She threatened to call the police, and he strangled her. Jesperson killed his next victim in June 1993 in Santanella, California. She was a previously unidentified woman named Patricia Skipple, who he claimed was named Carla or Cindy. Police originally considered her death a drug overdose. In September 1994, another Jane Doe was found in Crestview, Florida. Jesperson had previously said that her name was Suzanne, and she was identified as Suzanne Kielenberg on October 3, 2023. Jesperson was arrested on March 30, 1995 for the murder of Julie Winningham. He had been questioned by police a week before, but they had no grounds to arrest him after he refused to talk. In the days following, Jesperson decided that he was certainly going to be arrested, and after 2 suicide attempts turned himself in, hoping it would result in leniency during his sentencing. While in custody, Jesperson began revealing details of his killings and making claims of many others, most of which he later recanted. A few days before his arrest, he wrote a letter to his brother in which he confessed to having killed 8 people over the course of 5 years. This led police agencies in several states to reopen old cases, many of which were found to be possible victims of Jesperson. Although Jesperson at one point claimed to have had as many as 160 victims, only the 8 women killed in Washington, Oregon, California, Florida, Nebraska, and Wyoming have been confirmed. He is serving 3 consecutive life sentences at the Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem. In September 2009, Jesperson was indicted in Riverside County, California, on murder charges. He was extradited in December 2009. He was convicted of another murder and received a 4th life sentence in January 2010. Early in the investigation of Bennett's murder, Laverne Pavlinek read the news reports surrounding Bennett's death and saw it as an opportunity to force an end to the long-term abusive relationship she had been in with her boyfriend, John Sosnowska. Pavlinek set up a meeting with investigators and gave a false confession, using the details she had read in the newspaper to give a detailed story of how Sosnowska forced her to help him rape, murder, and dispose of Bennett's body. Pavlinek and Sosnowska were both arrested on March 5, 1990, and both were convicted of the murder on February 8, 1991. To avoid the possibility of facing the death penalty, Sosnowska pleaded no contest. He was sentenced to life in prison while Pavlinek was sentenced to no less than 10 years. Much more than she had anticipated. Pavlinek soon admitted to making up her entire story, but her claims were ignored. On January 7, 1996, more than 5 years after their conviction, Pavlinek and Sosnowska were released from prison after Jesperson and his attorney offered his confession with convincing evidence of his guilt. He had given police officers the location of the victim's purse. The purse had not been found at the crime scene, and its location was considered information only the killer would know. Following Bennett's murder, as all the attention was going to Pavlinak and Sosnovka, Jesperson wrote a confession on the bathroom wall of a truck stop and signed it with a smiley face. When that did not create the attention he desired, he wrote letters to media outlets and police departments confessing to his murders, starting with a 6-page letter to the Oregonian in which he revealed the details of his killings. Jesperson signed each letter with a smiley face. This led Phil Stanford, the journalist working the story for the Oregonian, to dub Jesperson the happy face killer.